Was that a pillow, my pillow guy pillow? Could be a conspiracy. Astabe got picked. He got poked by my pillow guy pillow. Self-poking pillow. What's up, Move 11? Spectacular Camel. Good to see you. Sorry, I'm just a couple minutes late. I had to talk to the chess organizer here. I'm gonna play in a tournament in August. My yearly IM tournament where I can put my rating on the line against lower rated players. It's so much fun. It's like, I don't know how to describe it. Alright, so in August I'll play a tournament, it looks like. That will be the next tournament. If anybody asks me when are you playing, it looks like August. Warm up for the World Senior in November. Bob's so impatient. Tell him you'll do it for $50. It's more like $50 a game, man. I wish it was $50 an hour. Yeah, I'm getting paid like less than $50 a game. It's Hungary, man. Maybe the United States. I don't think chess players get paid that much for IM tournaments in the US. Hardly. I wish. That'd be awesome, $50 an hour. I'd make my games extra long. If you got paid by the hour, you'd turn to like Ulf Anderson. Dude, I would have like multiple 100-move games that were like maximum time every single round. I would be the next Ulf Anderson. Snuggles the Snail, welcome. Oh, what's up? Thank you, Snuggles the Snail, for showing up. Spectacular Camel just resubscribed tier 1 for 33 months. You added a game? A spectacular game? Art Veg. Oh, really? Turkey Farm? Okay. So we got an added game. You bought us added a game automatically. Mr. Coffee, what is that? Arsenal hype. Bob, Arsenal. There's Arsenal emotes. Gangsta maneuvers. Okay, welcome everybody. I've got games from the following players. Testosterone left over from last week. Mirales, IVYM, Acerbate, Jim, Yabatis just added, and Mule Skinner, and we've got Move 11. Did you say? Move 11, did you say you wanted to add a game? Move 11, you're kind of early today, no? I've had a really hard week, guys. Being Mr. Mom is just not easy. It's hard enough being me, but I've got to be Mr. Mom too. I'll never be as tough as taking care of my mom. Taking care of moms is harder than taking care of kids. I like just take care of myself. Taking care of myself is hard enough. I don't need to take care of other people. And work at the same time. Alright, let's get started. Alright. Teenagers. Where do all the video chess training streams go when they die? Go to die? They go to YouTube. Check them out. Okay, what do we got? So we had Agnes Karajewski dropped 100 bits last stream. So I've got a tournament for August. Second part of August. Agreed. The nuclear family is unnatural. It's too much work, man. I woke up at 6 this morning and did get a little 1 hour nap, but it's been hard. That emote is bothering me. Wow. The washing machine. What is that? I thought there was a fly on the screen. All right, we're gonna start with Testosterone, who's not here. Testosterone was white. I'm gonna do up to 10 games. We've got 7, 8. I got 7, 8 with Repun. If Move 11 submits a game, that's 9. That would leave us with one more. Bob's game against Acerbate. We don't talk about that. I have to admit it, Bob. I wanted to do that game as my own personal submission to the stream. Highly entertaining chess indeed. Speaking of nuclear. No, he didn't submit that. He didn't submit that. He has too much respect for you to do that. And respect for himself. But I enjoyed it, like, personally. I would submit it as my submission. So we've got Testosterone, aka Turkey Farm, playing Chuck Phil. Mr. Coffee wants to submit that game. E4, C5, Knight C3. And then... Man, does everybody play this? Wait, Turkey Farm plays this too? Why is it hotter? Here's just the question. Why is it hotter at 7 o'clock p.m. than it is at like 2? Is that normal? Or just because I live on a rooftop and the like corrugated metal gets hot? It shouldn't be hotter at 7 o'clock than it is at 2 o'clock, right? I mean, that's not normal. But I've got to like hold the beer to my head. And I didn't feel this earlier. Okay, E4, C5, Knight C3, Knight C6. My house is supposed to pay for a new roof eventually. Really major breakthrough with the management company. Beer is making me hot. Maybe it gets warmer due to build-up from baking all day. It's something like that. Just I didn't really notice how hot I was till now. Okay, so what I wanted to check here was, have I played Turkey Farm from this position personally? Player, Acerbate. Well, that's weird. I have games as white, but not too many. We'll flip black. Look at those statistics. Okay, Bishop B5 in particular. Aha. So he just played it against me already this month. I was thinking Zen Chess played it against me. I think there's some similarities there. Morales many times. Morales is a huge expert. Okay, so we just literally had a game of Testosterone. The problem is I get this confused with the Grand Prix attack line with like F4, G6, Knight F3, Bishop G7, Bishop B5. I only have 107 games here with black. Whatever happened to Bolt Blixton? He sort of disappeared. I guess he liked the blitz time control. Anyways, alright, Knight D4. Right. Now there's primarily Bishop C4 and Knight F3. Yeah, here we go. Testosterone Sparkle Horse. So what did I do? Like Knight takes B5. I feel like against Lyell in 2019 I played A6 here. That was my home prep. 2 o'clock is nearly the hottest from the sun. Cocktail peanuts. Honey roasted. What about over the board chess? I feel like A6 and knight C6. That's the secret variation. Carlsen has 2 games with black here and 1 with white. Knight c6 makes sense when white has to waste time moving his bishop more than once. I mean, there's a lot of confusion about this type of stuff for me. I've definitely had games with Morales, right? But normally we would see bishop c4 against Morales. Bishop c4, b5. No, b5's too early. First we have to play e6. Then you get that. I don't know, it's all so confusing for some reason. I'm just trying to make heads or tails of it. After a6, so white could play bishop c4. What about move 11? Is he here? Maybe he has an opinion about this. I mean, I definitely had this against Morales. Bishop c4, b5, bishop d5, and then rook b8. So here's some games. Actually, quite a few. You'll notice that almost all of these games were played in the last few years, with a few exceptions. I've also considered the Astermate maneuver. I don't know, that rook is more likely to come under attack or something. Yeah, that's like the reason why most people are afraid to play bishop c4. Okay, so a6 is best move, bishop d3 is probably best move, and now black played g6. So this guy's like an expert, apparently. But I don't like letting white take here and having my pawn structure messed up. So I think I would be more likely to play knight c6. That's what I think I played against Lyle. I don't remember the game. It was like 3 years ago, but we had something where he moved the bishop again and became like a normal Sicilian. But anyway, so this guy plays g6. I feel like we've looked at this once before on the stream with Zen Chess. Like the exact same thing? Or was it Turkey Farm? Why am I getting Turkey Farm and Zen Chess confused with each other? One is from Canada and the other one is from like Nebraska. They're really not related. I guess their approximate strength is around the same. Maybe that's why they're similar. Or maybe it wasn't Zen Chess that played this all along. Maybe because they both played Grand Prix Attack. Quasar, we're not playing Blitz right now. But thank you for joining our stream. I'm happy to play you maybe tomorrow, Fridays, or on Monday. I do take Blitz challenges. Guys and girls, please support the stream if you can. Donate, and don't forget to put me in your will. Alright, rook b1. Just like a game we saw recently. This isn't a game I already went over, I hope. I just want to make sure, like, this isn't a game I've already gone over. Because that has happened in the past where I realized too late. Okay, g6, rook b1, bishop g7. I've never played this for either side. I think we did go over a game that was very similar recently. So now b4. What do you guys think about this? Want to support my center? But see, that's the thing. If you play like b6, take. Here, the Swiss Grandmaster, or French, I don't know if he's French or Swiss. Abigail has a game. But Abigail has control of the b file now, which seems kind of beneficial to white. So I don't like b6. d6 allows white to chop toward the center, and black loses control over the center, particularly e5. See, that's one of the reasons I don't like any of these things, like knight takes d4. I think that I would be much happier bringing that knight back to c6 before playing g6 still. So now what do we do? Alright, so he does d6. No, he does c takes b4. Now we lose our center again. Firouzja, Cornet, Safarli. I don't really like white's structure. No, white has an isolated pawn on a2. Interesting. Very logical. Does anybody remember? I mean, did Turkey Farm submit a game against the same player before? This is really familiar to me. Also, black's name, Chuck Phil. Chuck Jones. Castles. Black very, very natural. Rook e1 now. Man, that was Turkey Farm. Same variation. Is this the same game? I think we're going over the same game again. We are. Alright. Yeah, I don't get it. Something's wrong here. I think we're going over the same game from last time. For next week's analysis, I'm not the most punctual dude, so push me back in the queue. What happened here? It's the same game we went over last time. Alright, we already did it, so it's taken care of. That's cool. At least I caught this before it was too late. Well, that was a good game. Alright, we already analyzed this last week. Testosterone, check the last week's stream. Alright, Uber driver against Morales. This must have been submitted by Morales. I don't think the Uber driver submitted a game this week. Chocolate Bunny. Uber driver versus Morales. Don't play the Petrov. He did. Alright. Knight f3, knight f6. Yawn. Which is more boring, the Petrov or like the Four Knights game? Yeah. I've played this. Bishop b4, but it's super impossible for black to win. Like, once you play that move, you're signing a contract that says you'll never win. It's like you just agree to be tortured and then agree to a draw eventually. There's zero chance to win this position. Let's check the statistics. E5 equals boring. I agree. Man, it's unbelievable. After bishop e4, you're telling me, like, look at this. You're telling me that black has the same winning chances as after knight c6? Well, alright, maybe. The winningest move is d6. But I mean, you don't play the Petra for a win unless you're like Fabiano Caruana getting lucky in the candidates tournament or something. Yeah. So we're just trying to draw. And Uber Driver plays that. What is that? Okay, so this is just like better for white, but kind of drawish. Castle, for example, bishop e2, rook e8, knight d3, and then this is what happens eventually. You take, white takes with the d pawn, you take your pawn back, but white has like the bishop pair. Check out the draw percentage here. 57, 48, 46. Black has no winning chances and some chances to lose. So I played this a lot in Blitz, and it was just, again, only good for a draw. But Uber Driver decides to play bishop c4. That's a weird choice. Why would the normally solid Uber Driver play bishop c4 here? So what is this now? It's like a classical Lopez with... That's weird. It's a classical Berlin Lopez reversed. Interesting. Well, I mean, kudos to Uber Driver for playing an interesting opening, but what to do? I think d6 is strong. Oh dear, you screwed this up. Well, maybe eventually. I mean, we're all curious about bishop takes c3 immediately. What happens there? The reverse classical Roy Lopez. I mean, do you have to take like the traditional way here? Can you take with the B pawn? Indich with black. Not a good way to play against the 2300. If you're 2600, you just don't want to play this opening against the 2300. I think Bill will. Knight d5 first before... Knight d5 first? I don't know what it is. The Belgrade Gambit? What is that, man? That's like a bad Belgrade Gambit. Like, this is not a serious move. That can't be a serious move. It's the bird's defense. Reversed birds. No. It's not. This is not normal. No, you just take here. Knight d5 is not a move. No, I thought your move was interesting. You know, the normal move is knight takes e5. But I give you credit for an interesting move. Bishop c4. Now he plays d6. Now you did knight d5. And now it's just like equal. Knight takes d5, bishop d5, c6, bishop b3, castles. It's like a reverse, you know, 4 knights game or whatever it is. 3 knights game. See, these guys played c3. And I think castles is interesting. That's about it. I mean, I guess you could play a3. So what about Uber Driver's h3? Not a bad prophylactic move, I guess. It seems a little early, but maybe not. Now you got problems. Okay, so at this point, you just like fell asleep at the switch. h3 is slow. Knight d7, interesting. Hitting that. But should you just play like c3? Bishop a5. Castles. No? It's interesting here that a player played d5, but I don't know about that. Maybe it makes sense. Maybe there's a problem. Do you have a problem? Do you have a problem, sir? See, white's got to be careful. Like this could be serious. This would be sort of... I would think you would take here. What's happening? If I trust this fully for white. So Volika's move is interesting too. Point is, you can't play d3 and maintain your center. It looks like h3 is weird. I mean, you could have played c3 at any moment and cut that crap out with d5. So c3 first, bishop a5. Now if you insist on playing h3, it's an option. I guess if this, now you could even play like d3 if you wanted to. Theoretically. Raid Milanovic. Milovanovic. UTD. Alright, castles, h3, knight d7, and now what? You're allowing knight c5? The Cowboys. Uberdrive just gave him the Cowboys. For nothing. Get your Cowboys here. You know another thing I was surprised by? I thought you would take with the A pawn. Are you being like a pawn structure Nazi here? Is that why you played queen takes? I feel like most players, including myself, I can only really speak for myself. I would prefer to play A takes and open the file for my rook. Although it's true, it's like not likely to do that much. I felt like maybe this was a little bit weird to take with the queen. Okay, not a very exciting game so far. Now Uberdriver with the epic d3. Though what do you want him to do, you know? He's slightly worse with white. I think d3 makes sense. I mean, you don't have a white square bishop. If you play d4, you're kind of abandoning your like light white squares to their fate in a way. Maybe this makes sense, man. You might even play c4. Maybe that's a logical continuation at some point. I mean, theoretically you could play that, although I don't know that it's your priority here. Black's going to play bishop e6 and f5, and you're in serious trouble. You know, so the question is now, what does Uberdriver do against the oncoming traffic? This queen e7 is a pretty strong move. He stops d4, he guards the b7 pawn, so you can come up with bishop e6, and then he's hitting you with f5. That's exactly what happened. Knight d2, trying to retreat the pieces away from the kingside's defense. It's nice that white has played h3 here. Yeah, he's brutal. Morales can be brutal. It's hard to figure out how strong he really is. He's capable of playing very, very well. But I mean, I don't think you can afford to retreat now. I mean, what was your idea with 92? You're gonna play that? You're gonna play f3 or what? Man, I really wish you hadn't played. I wish you hadn't played h3. Look at that. Never put the queen on c7 in the King's Indian. And you only do it in the Old Indian because you have to. But I wonder, should you go back to d1? Because this queen might actually have more defensive capability. It's just kind of like dead on c2. Bam. Now, you know, the question is, do you allow a pawn storm? Do you want to allow that? You have the option to take this. It looks bad, you know, either way. Right. Maybe I can play f3 and run with the king. Run with the king? Run to mama. What is that? Like, is that like pet care, or are we talking about hazing? Is this fraternity hazing or pet care? I mean, what are you going to do? Bishop takes f5, f3? Are you talking about running this way or running that way? I think f3 is Spassky. f3 is recommended no matter what. But white is in a bad way here. This is awful. So Uber Driver just decided to detonate his dark squares in totality with f4. Yeah, I don't think so. I'm really smashing Uber Driver here. I mean, trashing him. But it's not me, it's Morales. What would John Curto do with white? I don't know, man. Curto would play like f5 sometimes in the classical openings with black. It looks like that reversed. The problem is like g5 moves somewhere. If I were black, I'd be concerned it would get too locked up if I tried to play f4. This check doesn't really do anything. So Morales just comes back to c7. Man, that move is kind of scary. That is a seriously scary move. Yeah. I mean, this is not obvious, but he's got this diagonal there. I think bishop c7 is probably like the best move that he played. You know, it's pretty subtle. I mean, you can't blame you for doing what you did. I don't think you can survive. Your queen side is just not existing. Yeah, this is not good. That was the main idea. The Acer mate. I have the feeling he has other winning moves here, though. You know, I don't think that black has to play queen d6. I mean, it seems like to me that there's enough here as it stands now. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we can win with just like bishop takes h3, right? I mean, you're threatening mate. Maybe I'm wrong, but you can't take back. I think you're lost anyway. Like, even if he doesn't find queen d6, but this is brutal. Boom. I mean, obviously, rook takes f3, pawn takes f3. And your queen defends laterally. Yeah, it's just a really crushing game by Morales. We don't need to torture Uber Driver too much here. I tuned in when you got to this point after my game finished, and I was like, oof, this doesn't look good. Yeah. Yeah, and that obviously doesn't really help. Black is basically threatening queen h5. And moving your king to the h-file doesn't help you out, but actually black's bigger threat is just taking on f3. Yeah, it's over. There's nothing you could do. That's just lost. Yeah, unusual to see... Oh, Bob. Bob? What is this? Is that a porn link or something? A little analysis. Alright. We won't analyze the Acerbate Bob game. What is this? In the study. Alright, that's the last game for today. What about move 11? Did he just, like, hit and run? Sure. Whatever you say, big boy. Alright. You didn't tell your real name yet? Wilbur? Wilbur Robert Sacamano the third. Alright, this is not the next game. Unless you want to pay extra for an upgrade. We're going to go to IVYM versus Ramrod. Alright. Welcome everybody to the stream. Don't be afraid to donate and support the stream with a gift sub. You can always make a donation via Streamlabs or PayPal, like Wilbur the third. Okay, this is IVYM playing white. I don't really know his repertoire that well. I will say that this move is extremely annoying from Black's perspective. And I think it's problematic for a lot of players. Black should know what they're going to do here if they play knight c6, but I always felt like I don't like being forced into playing c3 Sicilians with my knight on c6 necessarily. It really restricts Black's options. Black here had no clue what they were doing. I mean, they played a6 now. Just... Repun, thanks for being a subscriber. I mean, okay, so... Black has to play knight f6, attacking the pawn, d5, attacking the pawn, attacking the center. Just to show you how many, problems, how problematic this is, really, Black only has like 3 good moves in this position. Literally. I remember Blobix used to be a big proponent of playing e5 against everything. I mean, I guess that's theoretically possible, but not really a good move. You either have to play knight f6, you have to play d5, or you have to play e6 going into a French advance. Or a foremost c3 Sicilian. But Black played a6. Now, of course, we don't see any good players in the database here playing Black. if you did play a6 and white played c3, you wouldn't play knight c6. Let's just put it that way. Knight c6, c3, and now a6, so d4. Best move. You know, one downside of this, I don't really think that the Smith-Morra is a great idea. You could play like forcing a transition to a Smith-Morra. Actually, this is a pretty good line for black, I think. After knight takes c3 and d6, so that's not a problem, or even e6, I should say. Both e6 and d6 are good moves. Trying to transpose to the Smith-Morra, not a real dangerous plan. After a6 d4, c takes d4, we have to take back. Now, black played a crazy move. Black has already lost. Not lost, but I mean, black has a bad position, right? Black already has a seriously bad position. So what is he going to do? Yeah, I mean, where do you draw the line on lost or not? Black is in deep shit already. Seriously. One mistake. That's why I tell people all the time, putting your knight on c6 in the c3 Sicilian is dangerous business. There's one game here. Staniszewski. What did he do? He did d5 right away. The question is, does that work? d5 right away, e takes d. Queen takes d5. What's the deal with that position? Wow. Black actually has an okay score here, but they really shouldn't. Black should be in trouble here. This should be a dubious line with a6. No, this is your only chance for black, it looks like. You have to play d5. Only move. But man, I would think this would be better for white. I wonder about the ending, actually. You know, is this necessarily good for black? Like, seriously. Take. Now, how do you recapture? With the king or with the knight? I bet a lot of people with white just automatically assume this is good for black. But are you sure it's good for black? Because we had that huge queenside majority and a big fat hold on b6, and the 4-on-2. I have the sneaking suspicion this might actually be good for white. If you take with the knight, well, I mean, I'm gonna sneeze. If you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm trying to fend off a sneeze. But we have this option, this option, this option. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that white has a slight edge here. A solid slight edge. Yeah, so this is definitely an option. Knight e5. So all the people that played this, they were assuming like this is not really a thing, but it is. I think because of a6. Otherwise it wouldn't have been dangerous. But that thing where the knight is popping into b6, that creates some serious issues. That's a huge weakness in the black queen side. So this is something that none of these players considered. Both players with white played pawn takes d5 automatically. This deserves serious consideration. And now like this is too slow, because we're just going to take and then play like bishop e3 and black is effectively lost. So that's an interesting alternative, but not a total refutation. I still think that this is the best move. But what do we do after this? I mean, I feel like white should be better. The majority of players here played bishop e2. But a6 is an extremely slow move. This guy was, he's a Lithuanian grandmaster, I think, Malisauskas. I noticed him on my Facebook suggestions a couple weeks ago. This is good for white too, it looks like. But I was going to suggest bishop e3. I got to imagine white is better here. C takes d4. Why does white 0 for 5 in this position? Where, I mean, no wins out of 5 games. It looks like a good IQP where black's played a6 unnecessarily. e6, knight c3. I mean, this is just a standard position where black has played a6. Plus 0.9 for white. This guy Pazuski, who I played a couple times. He played d4 against me. Man, white is just better here. Wow, g3. No, I think white just needs to play better. Okay, so anyways, long story short, this is much, much worse. Now d5 is just awful for black. You asked too? What is that move in the database, the E? That's like, yeah, total. Mr. Coffee should be here. He must be out working. He would handle the statistics, normally. He's our statistical consultant. Sigma. Thank you. So c takes d5, e5. Your big statistic moment there. e5, d5. Yeah. d5's good. But this looks like an interesting position, doesn't it? So many juicy possibilities for white. It's just a matter of taste. I would have a hard time now. I really want to play bishop c4 and just like go for the jugular. Math nerd. He listens to nerd rock. Wait, you listen to nerd? Mr. Coffee listens to like Weezer. Alright, bishop c4. Attacking f7. That looks like a good move, man. This is extremely dangerous for black. The other move that looks good is pawn takes pawn. Where, oh where has my little dog gone? Like, what am I gonna do, man? I think white has got 3 very powerful continuations here. And the text move. d5. However, d5 somewhat closes the position. I guess if we're picking e5 for free, then I take it back. It's just good. I guess it's just good. Black did in between move, check, knight c3. Now I guess knight e7. What are you gonna do? Yeah, you're just screwed. just keep thinking, like, maybe black could do something else after d5, but what? What is he going to do? He's dead. d5's strong. Yeah, this is strong. All three moves are strong. This, and bishop c4. All of the above. But there's absolutely no cause for black to voluntarily exchange his bishop on c3. Speaking of cowboys, as Uber Driver calls it, there's a funny thing that happens in Chigorin with like knight b8, knight takes e5, queen f6, trying to cut this diagonal. But this is like a worse version of that for black. This is a really bad version. Black is just riddled with weaknesses all over his position. This is seriously bad. There's so many good moves for white, it's just ridiculous. Knight c4, queen takes check, bishop d2. Cover your eyes, this isn't going to be pretty. There's nothing he can do. So he plays this, and this is just a free pawn. Are seeds alive? Damn, dude. I vote yes. I vote yes. But I'm really just guessing. Bulgar Bay. Man, black's game was terrible. Oof, he went out there. I think like black has a gambling addiction. He needs to go to treatment. I don't know why I want to play knight c4. A seed is living, although seeds are dormant. Their cells are still alive. Is the creature from the thing alive? It's basically a seed, right, Bob? Bishop d2, knight f6, dormant. It was dormant. Till those Norwegians came along. This is a terrible game by black. Not to take credit away from IBYM, who played well. See, here I don't know. We pop back to e3. The original or the new version, Bob? There's two. They're both good. John Carpenter. Now, I love that pawn on e7. But I don't want to lose our e2 pawn. Shall we try to gain a tempo of sorts by playing rook b1? Yeah, this is critical. If he doesn't play knight e4, he's a goner. Like, this has to work. And I don't think that, like, rook b1 did anything. But I think that... What's up, Tazik? Long time no see. I mean, hypothetically, black is, like, lost based on king being stuck in the center, right? So we can kind of, like, just say black has a lost position unless, you know, some miracle happens here. And this is not a move I'm inclined to make with black. But eventually that knight will get unplugged by f3, or we'll just take it. But I still think that black should try to defend, you know, in a way other than doing this. He has this, like, blocker, you know, the knight is sort of like a blocker. I don't know, let's say h5 or something. If you play rook e1, you know, d5, I guess we've got f3 anyway, and this doesn't work because of bishop e3. As long as white is careful and not to allow any kind of crazy stuff on that diagonal, it's probably not going to matter. But I don't know that black should do this. I guess he has one chance to play d5. But I just saw bishop a4 check. It's probably lost. Objectively, it's lost. But should we play bishop a4 check? Bishop d7 isn't so clear. I still think that white is winning. It's winning. Because the black king can't get free. This is a huge problem. Yeah, now he's got to play rook g8. Well, rook g8 just fails to bishop h7. Yeah, it's over. King d7, I guess. Okay, this is the only move. King d7, bishop a4 check, and we win at least the exchange with the winning position. Yeah, it's over. It doesn't matter. Don't think black can survive. This is way too hesitant now. Why not rook e5? He was afraid his... Rook g6 isn't possible. Yeah, white should not hesitate here with h3. Overly cautious. I mean, this looks really strong. We're threatening rook takes d8. I guess rook b8 with back ranks. Now might be a thing. You might actually have to play h3. That's funny. So he's like psychic. He would have had to have played it. He would have had to have played it on the next move after rook b8. So just played it anyway first. And now rook b8, we just play rook e5. And there's nothing you can do. Plus there's a6 just hanging. It's really bad. So he played this and just lost. Alright. Niles, you may be too late. Okay. What do I got? I think he's too late. But if I can, I'll do it. We'll see. So, the queue, it's not a queue like when I do games. We have the games submitted already. Acerbate, Jim, Yabadis, Bob. Actually, Mule Skinner is in here, let's say, after Jim. And then we've got Repun. Pro tip, submit your games early. Pro tip, subscribe and donate to support the stream. We only have 100 bits this week. I feel sad. Acerbate is broke. Alright. But I'm not doing this just for the money. I love chess. I would be streaming on, the evil chess site if I was doing it for the money. Shall we get into fights? Leave the lights on drop bombs due towards the east. What is that? Pikachu. Late submit option for extra. No, IBYM, that was a good game. I mean, I'm sure that you had a pretty good Centipon loss for that game. I think any compliment, was justified. Mule Skinner. I called him Mule Skinner. I don't know why. Mr. Coffee, 1,000 bits. You've been guilted. Yeah, he felt guilty. 1,000 bits from Mr. Coffee. Now we feel better. Whew. All right. Nice job, Mr. Coffee. Thank you. Very generous support. All right. So Turkey Farm game is in the books. You know who it was? It was Arsenal. Did Arsenal submit a game? He did not submit a game. Did he? Let me just double check. I had to double check Arsenal didn't send in a game. Whoa. Man, they gotta improve this Twitch chat. I can't even tell when this chat was from. Twitch chat just sucks. Timestamp? Okay. Sunday, 10:34:08 p.m. Dude, what does that mean? Sunday. No. Arsenal's only submission was from long ago. Alright. We're waiting for Bob to start streaming. 18 plus. It seems like it's easier to get to affiliate than it used to be. I like streamed for a year before I got to affiliate. Alright. Turkey Farm, we got that. Yeah. Alright, so we're on. Asterbait. Thanks IVYM for submitting that game. It was a good one. Turkey Farm, you sent me like the same game twice. You know, we already analyzed that game. I already analyzed that game in the last stream. I was like, I started it again, and I was like, wait, this looks familiar. Alright, but I already analyzed it. Maybe you didn't see the last stream where I analyzed it. Okay, next is Asterbait. No, it was a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, I feel like. This is Asterbait with black. What if Bob is really like a 71-year-old man? He's been pretending to be young all this time. G6, bishop c4. Bishop g7. Earlier, Bob talked about his girlfriend, and like the first rule of you're not a chess player if you have a girlfriend. You're not a real chess player if you have a girlfriend. I'm sorry, man. He does a self-help stream. So bishop c4, bishop g7, castles e6, the old school. Alright, as I've mentioned many times, the Bodler attack is somewhat appropriate against this accelerated dragon. Chess playa. But we had an interesting idea last time. What the heck was it? D6. D6 has the best score. It looks like in this specific move order, that's the best move. Castles is not the hottest for white. Castles really reduces white's options, so he's supposed to play c3 first. This is way, way more dangerous. May I ask, did you already cover the game? Yes. We did. We did. You were like the first one. Crushing Uber driver. So bishop g7, castles. Yeah, that like really takes a lot of the dynamism out of white's chances here. So now Astrobate could just do whatever he wants. I still don't know if we want to hang out and wait for c3, d4 to happen. So I think maybe this is not our best option now. Jim, it's a long game. What's a long game? What's up? So, knight c6, c3. That's the question. Then do we play e6 or d6? So you can see here, most people play d6 right away. I had a game with, speaking of Jim. Jim and I had a game, I thought. No, that was a Mora. I'm thinking of Mora. Anyway, okay, e6 isn't so hot because white has d4 now. He can just like take back with the knight. And white is a little better. Irina Levitina. Actually, I played her in a rapid tournament in New Jersey like 1980. No, it was 1990. 1990, 1991. You know you're old when you play the people with games in the 70s in the database. Alright. Didn't play with Hanfi though. Number 4. Okay, Astrobate e6 is okay, but I don't recommend it. I think you should just play d6 here. And then he plays d4, which is good. Takes. Now he could transfer to a kind of more a gambit with c3, but this is fine. Now you should watch for knight b5, as these players did with a6, but you didn't. This is like probably the worst move. I don't know though. I mean, if you play knight e7, you could get hit by knight b5 anyway. And if d5, this is the question. Can you sack a pawn, maybe? Bob Saccaponda. d5, e takes d5, e takes d5, bishop takes d5, and like get the blank out of there by sacrificing a pawn. I mean, it's probably not completely sound, but at least it's plausible. This is a really funny move. Knight d6, but I could just take there. No, that's nothing. Anyway, Astrobate, you should stop his knight from coming into b5 in the first place. You know, it's funny because Astrobate, we've got a lot of games from him, and his default move is always a6 when he doesn't know what to do, usually. So it's kind of funny that he didn't do it here. That's what he always does when he doesn't know what to do. But I've like told him not to do that so many times that he doesn't do it. This is the worst option though, because now after knight b5 you have a serious problem. What are you going to do? Again, you have to sack a pawn. Although maybe you're just like... Yeah, I think it works. Like bishop f4, e5. I'm not sure what's going on here. This hanging. Yeah, I still think you should sack a pawn if he does that. I don't like letting his knight in there. You know, if you allow this, you're like, you're in a bind forever. This is what you definitely shouldn't, you know, should try to avoid this. Getting that knight on d6, just tying you up so you can't get your pieces out forever. This is such a bad move by white. Knight takes c6. It's like horrifying. What's he going to do? Play queen d6? You could just trade it off. At least he has to try that though, right? I mean, if he's going to do this. He could try to play queen d6. Try something. I mean, this unfortunately allows bishop takes b2. Maybe he could even sacrifice that, seriously. Bishop f4, bishop takes b2, knight d2. And like white has kind of scary compensation. If you try to take that, I would think like that's not that safe. Never play knight takes c6. In most cases, Jim is right. You see, the people just do it because they can, because it's the most brain dead thing they can think of. This is such a strong move. This is also playable, but only like equal. Maybe white's a little better there. If you got good control of b5, that's when you should think about a6. I mean, he's got that structure with the big Swiss cheese there, so you're always watching for that knight b5. Such a stupid move by white. And then this. And then d5, and black's just better. So it's not even equal, you're just better instantly. Check because you can, right? What? White is a mouth breather. I mean, seriously, man, this bishop, for that bishop is a good exchange for us. Queen a4, take, there. Yeah, welcome to the endgame. Asterbate in the endgame. He showed me another nice endgame he played. He's getting better. He's getting better. This brilliant king. I wonder if white should consider something drastic like c4. The idea would be to open the center at all cost. And if I take it, we can hit it with a knight. But maybe it's not enough. But I don't know, my thing, we won't talk about Hungarian. My king is, it would be a weird Freudian slip, but my king is actually a little drafty now. I think that white is in desperate trouble there. Yeah, knight a3, rook c8, check. And like, where do you put your king? Suddenly things are not so simple. But my point is, like, if white doesn't do something now, you know, he may never be able to achieve this, like, anti-Catalan sort of break. Beautiful move by Asterbate. You're really getting it, you know. This is a strong move. It's all about, like, containing c4. Rook hc8 is a brilliant move. Then he can pop back here if necessary without obstructing his rooks. That's a nice move. And white, you know, still has hope here, but he has to play well. This looks a bit awkward. Maybe not a bad move, I don't know. Maybe not a bad move. You have knight f5. Knight f5, knight d6, knight c4. You have a5, which is going to be a very important part of the plan. Boom. So, beautiful move, and then a5. Minority attack a4, a3. I like that he tried to profit from the rook move. There is a problem. So maybe we have to go all the way back. Sadly. It's very possible this is the better thing to do. Because now there's like double threat. I guess d4 is not a big deal. We can take that though. This, however, I don't like. So I guess you have time for like rook b6. Rook b6 actually looks decent. You can sidestep the fork. Why are there so many church bells today? Does anybody understand that? I'm not Catholic, I don't understand the whole thing. But there's been an awful lot of church bells for a Thursday. And now White's being a mouth breather again. 95 check. Probably not that bad though. There's also bishop e5. There we run into f6. Is this some kind of religious holiday today? I think like a computer can hold this for White though. No. Yes!
No.
Wrong button. Acerbate rook f8. You played such a perfect game until now. What is that? Oh, you want to play f6. The awkward f6 move. Yeah, I don't know. He's alright now. I guess we didn't really want to give up that bishop. That's why I told you should have played rook b6. Now you're on the pawn. And you have time for stuff like knight c6. This is a major glitch. Boom. Check. Yeah. So he's probably holding a draw now. This is awkward. The problem is, if you play like rook b6, he can play b3. I guess you can play king e7 and try to play f6 that way. Premier Chess reading with Party of Two. Thanks, Premier Chess. Welcome to my stream. So, yeah, this is awkward. I mean, this is a very awkward move. To have to use your rook to promote this f6 push, which I'm not even sure we really want to do now. But you're better. You're better. He should have played bishop f4. Bishop g3 is a bad move, I guess. It's not a good bishop anyways. I mean, alright, here he should have played bishop f6. It's a tricky position. I mean, you have forks and tricks like that and that. I don't know. White should hold a draw if he's very careful here. But structurally you're better with a big pawn island. And then chances for minority attack on the queen side. Acerbate's going for the trap. Yeah, I mean here maybe you should just convert to the rook ending. You've got a huge advantage. I mean, I gotta imagine this is nearly winning for black. It looks quite difficult. This destruction here. Now you can like penetrate in there, over there, put pressure down the b file. I mean, improve your king at your will. That was a really bad decision by White to put the bishop on g3. This is like he looks like he had to play bishop f4. But the problem is, like, if you play another pawn move like g5, he doesn't have a good square for his bishop. I mean, they're all bad. I guess the lesser of the evils is like bishop d2 and try to like put it on e1 or something. It's pretty bad though. I still think it would be hard to beat a computer. Computers are very good at defending with like bad bishop versus knight. So let's see what happens. He does f6, bishop g3, h5. And you went with g5. But I think you should take that. His pawn structure is really messed up. Okay, but I like this move actually. That the majority of your pawns are going to White's squares. And obviously the same thing applies. I mean, this is got to be close to winning rook ending. There's one thing that bothered me a little bit with this, is that maybe he can come up and like swoop over to the H file and get some kind of counterplay. I still think he must be nearly winning. Yeah, it's winning according to the engine. So, you know, oddly enough, you should take it. Although your knight looks like a great piece. Maybe you're winning anyway. But this, you know, you're letting him trade, like, straight up when you could have, like, damaged his pawns. He's so happy for that. And now king takes. You want your rook here, it's more active than it is on d6. Why take with the rook and activate your own rook? Your rook is like blocked by your own pawns. That's very poor. You still have a huge advantage. The flying buttress. The flying Dutchman. Now that's annoying. Now what's the best way to defend that pawn? You don't want to defend it passively, if possible. So it's totally not ideal what you did now. I mean, I can see the mate coming already with the sneaky h1 mate. I'm sure that's why he submitted the game, even though I haven't seen it. He's just waiting for the cheapo with e5, the rook swings over, and it's like forced mate. So that's why he didn't want to do the following, which is probably like objectively best. Rook here, b3, and then rook b5. It looks like white might be holding on, though. c4 is annoying and breaks up your center. I guess this is likely a draw at that point, although you're still better. But you can see what's happening. You know, his rook's in a bad position, but he's banking on that cheapo. So what's the, you know, can white even prevent it, though, is a good question. He can't play king f1. So I guess white has to try something like rook e1 with the idea of king f1, king e2. He played rook d1, pretty much same thing. And now black played, oh, you didn't do what I thought you were going to do. Oh, he stopped you. That's a smart move. Okay. He stopped him from playing e5, so you just take with check. Just the two of us. That's classic elevator music. I remember listening to that in the dentist's office in the 80s. Just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Alright, I'm not going to continue. I'm just kidding around. Rook a6. It reminds me of the Adams Mark Hotel in Philadelphia. Alright, rook a6. Rook d1. You just came from Premier Chess. You just realized you're the IM. You mean it's not you? Oh, okay. I do singing songs. Damn, Acerbi, you messed this up, man. Wow. I thought the whole point was to go for the cheapo, but the dude saw right through you. He's got rook takes d5 check. It just doesn't work. If e5, he just snaps it. Check, and then here. He saw through you. And now he's got c4. Big problem. That's Bill Withers on the original? No, it's a good song. What would you classify that as? What would that be classified, that song? What would it be, like? Easy listening? Alright, rook dd4. Elevator music. It's funny, there was a guy in my high school named Bill Withers. Coffee has a lot of teen girl emojis. I was gonna say, like, soul? Rook c8, rook dd4. So why not c4? I'm like missing the point here. Doesn't this like destroy your whole structure? Damn. How awkward is that move? Now c4. Man, that's a problem, though. You just booted this. Oh my god. Do you have a trick here for real? Oh my god. Oh no. Oh no. You have to make the shears. Are you serious? Dude. So the unstoppable f4 with mate? Ooh. That's devilish. White should have never get out of the boat. Do you remember Shaki 9-8? Fried tofu? You mean the guy I played yesterday? Yeah? I mean, I have dementia, but I don't, have that much dementia. I can remember what I did yesterday. Boom, boom, boom. And then the unstoppable f4. Does it help if he plays rook d3 in any way? His ego is inflated a lot because of how many games you had with him. Well, I'm glad I didn't deflate his ego. I don't know him too well personally. But I'm not a big fan of egotistical people. Okay, f4 and mate. Very nice. Very nice. No stopping it. Nice game. Wow. Sneaky mate by Asterbait. I must destroy him. You're his sworn enemy. For a price, perhaps. What's your angle? For a price. It's his sworn enemy. His sworn chess enemy. Gun for hire. Professor Galois versus Jim. I like to see Asterbait. I only really deal in souls. Allegiance isn't enough. I collect souls, then pass them on to Bob, and he sells them on the dark net. d4, knight f6, c4, e5. d takes e5, knight g4. Jim Morales. He's a good dude. He gets excited when he shares his games with me. Cool. Well, I had an interesting experience a couple weeks ago. There's this Turkish grandmaster who's been streaming, and he came on my stream and he was like, I used to watch your videos when I was a kid. I thought, man, that's pretty like heartwarming. To think of somebody, you know, some random kid who used to watch my chess videos from like 15 years ago. You know, I helped him become a grandmaster. All right. To do my little part. D takes c5, knight g4. I mean, obviously, it's not like my doing. You know, like I maybe played a little part by making some videos that he liked and inspired him or something. But still, it's heartwarming. Knight g4, bishop f4. See? So, what am I seeing? This is Jim and Morales are in the stream at the same time, and they're not the same dude. Bishop f4, bishop b4 check. That's old school. Knight c3. Oh no, he played knight c3. The Van Wely attack. Van Wely. Is this move order weird, or is it just me? Like, you're supposed to play knight c6 normally, right? So does it matter? Is there something wrong with this move order? Or does it just transpose? It's okay for black. Normally you play knight c6 first. The expert has spoken. But if you look at the database here, it's funny. I mean, knight d2 is like the main move, right? Wait, is that the Simon Williams like gambit variation? I told the story like last couple weeks ago where I had a blitz game with Simon when he was a teenager. And all I remember is that it was one of these like f6 things, or d6, I mean. It was this, right? Yeah. This was like Slaggy versus Simon Williams. Circa 1996 or something. Where Simon played this stupid gambit with like queen f6 against me in a blitz game. I didn't really remember, like, I think I had seen it in the book. No, he was like 2200 or something at the time. I was the favorite. Bishop e4 check. Anyways, so knight c3, knight c6 is possible. This is possible. We're just going to transpose to f6. Ah, what is that? What is that? Can I say it once more for emphasis? Franjo Vidalina. So, you know, the $1 million question is of course, whoa. Yeah, don't play queen a3. I mean, that's Van Wely versus random guy at the US Open, too. But f6, this is playable for black. I'm okay with it, you know. But what is this? Like, why are we like ruining our pawn structure with white and not, you know, getting a pawn? Morales likes to castle queenside, but not in this variation. I don't think anybody wants to castle queenside. The damage is done. You gotta watch out for c5s. If white has this, then that could uproot the whole like evaluation. Is it possible c5 is a thing here? If white undoubles the doubled pawns, I think he might go from like equal or slightly worse to slightly better. I feel like there's some chance this works. You'd prefer to castle first. We can't think in generalizations. I mean, if black castles first, or sorry, if white castles first, then black has time to play b6. You might not get another chance to do it, you know? It's kind of important. It either works or it doesn't. That's the question. This is your only chance. If you're going to play c5, it has to be now. Takes now. I feel like white should have something here. These checks and the invasion here. Queen d5, f6. Now we can't castle. You don't have to play f6. Let's turn on the engine. It's not sound. Okay, computer doesn't like queen d5. Okay, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Very well. So black has a good game. Almodiaki. The young Almodiaki Mohammed, 1992. Grandmaster. He's married to Zhu Chen, or he was. Rook b1, b6. Now black just has a good game. It's an excellent, excellent Nimzo. Oh, this is Jim. Jim's playing positional chess. Yeah, I don't like f5, really. But what are we going to do? I don't know, Jim, if you have a one-track mind. But I feel like, you know, you shouldn't attack here. You should just win based on structure. This is like a kind of fatally lost pawn structure for white. Well, queen d7 drops a pawn. Oh, it doesn't drop a pawn. That's a nice move. Sorry. Here. Right. Bishop f5. With the idea of queen here or queen here. And white can throw out maybe like rook b5. Though that move may not really... I don't know, we need to call Mule Skinner. He likes to put his rook on b4. We need to call the Mule Skinner. Yeah, queen d7 is interesting. I don't like that f5 blocks our bishop, and it weakens our king side. But I guess you have this in mind. You can just hit the diagonal. But he's going to take that knight at some point. I'd rather not play this move, though. There is queen f6, too, threatening the same thing. Bishop f5. Maybe white has enough counterplay somewhere, you know, around here, where he'll, like, hang on. I'm not saying, like, black has a winning position, but this is the kind of position, like, a grandmaster would win 80% of the time against a FIDE master or something. It's like Uncle Yermo's dream position. You just win material by force? But it's not so clear, is it? We're still better? Well, I would have liked to have played it in a different way where we have more, like, total control of the situation. I think it's a very good position, but not necessarily winning. We're clearly better. But I just thought you allowed a fairly significant amount of simplification. I would have liked to have played it differently at this point. F5 is up there, though. Computer likes your move. But I mean, that's based on tactical calculations. This is actually... What would a Gelfand do, you know? Knight d7. Even I didn't conceive of that. That's like too extreme for me. Pulling the knight off its best square to like switch to a different outpost to avoid exchanges. That's like Grandmaster. Grandmaster level. I was going to play something like I said. Queen f6. Queen d7 like Morales suggested. This is interesting. Bishop takes e5, bishop here. Okay, so the computer's going to sack the exchange. By the way, like, Stockfish is a genius with exchange sacrifices. It found another one here. Look at that. You would think, like, white was just lost. I know, who said that? Speaking of scrotal control, what is Bob on about now? Bob's getting bored. He lost his scrotal control. You can hang on for a couple more hours of analysis, Bob. Bishop e3, queen e4, f5. So see, here I wasn't sure we're winning, right? Can he just like step out of the pin? So queen b2 or queen c2? Look, black's better. I'm not going to argue with it, but it's equal material. Opposite color bishops. Our king is a little open. This is a huge problem though, isn't it? A white will be able to play f3 though. He won't be able to play f3. Yeah, he'll be able to play f3. That is going to be a key component in white's defense. I agree. Not easy to convert. Okay, that's a good way to describe it. Queen c6. Queen takes d5. Interesting move. So you're basing that on like queen takes d5, coming back to hit the bishop, and then playing bishop takes a2, picking off a pawn. Because like this looks way more logical, but it's just f3. Yeah. And then he's coming back there. Bishop takes was better by far, really. But are you sure? But are you sure? f3, queen e6. What do we got? Like a tactical shot? Bishop takes f3? Is it this? Oh no. I don't know. I mean, there's stuff here like this, maybe. It's pretty complicated. We probably like win our piece back. But at the end of the day, it's really murky. You've got such a good structure though inherently that you're always better no matter sort of like what happens. But I like that what you did there. If you pick off the a pawn, that's a nice thing. You didn't take it? Oh. Wait, why you can't take this pawn? I'm sorry? That's a protected passed pawn on a7. It will be, anyway. I mean, you're threatening bishop e3. That's a minor side effect, but I don't understand why you didn't take it. You're just not materialistic enough. But what is this? Like you're gonna do f4 or something? You're setting up the cheap shot f4 queen e1 mate or something? I mean, rook e8 is clearly not a bad move. But obviously he's gonna play this. Okay. But he has better than bishop g3, no? You mean he can't defend his pawn? You're telling me, like... Wait a minute. Rook d8? What if he trades rooks? I'd still like to at least trade rooks. You are going to win a pawn there, though. It's true. Can white save the pawn? I guess rook d2 would be the only way to like directly save it, and then you have f4. That actually is really strong. To be fair, that's pretty freaking brutal. His bishop's like only square on g3. One of his only squares is gone. He's got no way to protect a2. Yeah, I mean, it's a good call. So he just hangs it anyway. Yeah. But your a7 pawn is hanging. Do you have to play this? What about queen d2? Queen d2. Queen d2. Well, I mean, you're just losing the pawn. I mean, I think it's all bad. Always take on a7. But, I mean, that's the base of black's pawn chain. It's kind of important. I'm definitely taking it. Why give him that? Why not play bishop b3? No, I'm not saying it's, like, easy, but... Yeah, I mean, this is probably winning. Maybe I'm analyzing it too much in depth. It's a blitz game. He has a nice, big, fat, like, pawn protector. Pocket protector. King protector, that's it. It's a king, right? Okay. So he plays h3, of course. At the end of the day, I mean, it could be black's king is in more danger than white's king if we're not careful here. The rook's on the 7th. g7 is accessible. I can't believe you played h5. That's such a maniac move. This is where we're really degenerating into blitz mode now. Objectively, white is only slightly worse, right? The first evaluation was negative 6.7, and then it settled down. Negative 6.7 or 0.1. I guess after h5, I was going to suggest h6 actually. I guess after h5, you probably went a little too far. Yeah, you shouldn't have given him the pawn. But this is crazy. I mean, you're weakening your dark squares. Actually weakening all your squares. White could technically play like bishop h4. But it's a draw objectively. This is really radically risky. Ugh. Not happy about that queen position. Yeah, white just turned into like a blithering moron. He's 2,500. I don't know. He just melted into a blithering moron in like the last 3 moves. Why is his queen on c1? I mean, I feel like white should have known he was worse, and he should be happy that he was holding, and now he just started to like do crazy shit. Queen on c1. Now you're like winning probably. Man, you're like this close to winning. What about, okay, rook d2 just narrowly doesn't work. Can he actually just go king h2? Maybe I'm getting overexcited. Queen e4. Like, white is threatening nothing, and you're gonna get some threats on the light squares. It looks like. I guess he always has f3, but it might not be enough. You know, I mean, you've got bishop d5 coming. Be right there. If bishop d5, he'll have f3. We'll have rook takes g2 check. It's not enough. Yeah, you just aren't quite winning. Now you are. I can't believe you're not winning now. He has this. He has king h2. He took the draw. You are winning. Let's see if I can find it. We'll pretend it's a puzzle. So you play rook e2. I'm not convinced about that. I mean, rook b2 is the obvious move, but he has rook d8. Oh, but you just play rook b1. Of course you're just winning in that line. Alright, he has to defend with king h2. Oh, his queen is just flat out trapped. Oh, shit. Nice knowing you. His queen is just straight up trapped. That was the worst thing he did the whole game. Like, why is his queen, like, guarding the first rank on c1? Who, like, guards the first rank with their queen? He could have played a normal move here, right? Like king h2. But no, he played queen c1. I mean, that's what I mean by blithering idiot, you know? Like, why would anybody play queen c1? He plays king h2. He tries to play f3. If anything... Alright, I mean, I guess he's got to watch the rook a2. But he's not lost here. Is he? Is rook a2... Maybe this is really bad, too. He's dropping f2 there. Damn. So you play rook a8. You're threatening serious shit here. Maybe f3 immediately? f3 immediately. Rook a2. And now what? That's the question. If only he could, like, get over there. Does he have time to get over there? Right? Queen c1. You've got rook d2. But if rook d2, king h2, I'm not convinced that you're winning here. Wait, you're saying rook a1 check? Oh snap, Morales saw this. You got rook a1 check, then rook a2. Okay. Queen b1 is game over. It's really ugly. Or you can... No. That's a nice idea. Rook a2. Queen f3, queen a2. This is a problem. But we have queen d2, queen g1. queen I mean, even this. No, I guess c5 drops. Not so simple. It's not winning. You had mate in 6. He has mate in 6? Oh, he has mate in 6. Damn, dude. Unbelievable. I can't believe it. You're not winning. Alright, man. Good game. So it ended in a draw. All the small streamers... Yeah. Yeah, that's obvious. You know, I don't know. If I wanted, if I worship the almighty dollar, maybe I could sell out to stream on another site for the sake of making more money, but it's so disgusting. I hate that site. All right. Mule Skinner. Mule Skinner. Move 11. Move 11 with a late submission, as always. You're lucky you're a founder. Speaking of founders, guys. Yo, I'm next. That'll be 1,000 bits. This will be the last game. Baggio. Gravestone phrase, you're next. I never heard that. Gravestone phrase. Alright, Mule Skinner is next. Doctor. That's the last thing the doctor said. Where is Mule Skinner? I feel like we're too far back in history here. I guess I should specifically look for Mule Skinner. 46 minutes ago. Right. How's that possible? What? It must have been an old reference. Where's Mule Skinner's game? 19? That was last week. Maybe Mule Skinner didn't submit a game? Is it possible? He never... I guess sometimes he doesn't submit a game. That's weird, though. I thought he submitted a game. I wrote it down. I thought. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was Morales, and I get them confused. I guess it was Morales submitted a game, and I thought of Mule Skinner. And Mule Skinner usually submits games lately. So he actually... It says 47 minutes ago. Why does it say that? 51 Simul Torrevieja. That was the last one, right? Wait, what is this? It must be this. We already looked at this. This was the Simul where he... Yeah, I think he alright. He submitted a game last week. It's just my mistake. I wrote it down wrong. Alright, anyway, now we have time for the Move 11 submission. Bob, you're next. Is Bob next? Antonio, thank you for donating 200 bits. Move 11, that's later. For later. Did I add it to the Simul? To the Simul. Right. What about Camel? What about you? You were late this week, dude. You were super late this week, Camel. You usually send it in first. You got him ahead of Bob, though. I've got you, Bodice. Yeah, you're right. You're ahead of Bob. I've got Ubadis, Bob, Baggio versus move 11. Alright. Yeah, you're right. You're next. You're next. Next, man. Thanks, Mr. Coffee Antonio, for donating some bits today. Thanks all of you for being faithful followers. If anyone wants to donate their souls, just forward it to Bob and he'll get it on the dark net for us. I get a 40% cut. Also, we do organ quote-unquote donations, so if you like, we can hook you up for that as well. Alright, that's organ donations, not orgasm donations. Bob has a problem with people with that all the time. I wish I had the same problem, but there was this poker account on PokerStars. I thought it was on PokerStars. Maybe it was a chess account on ICC. Somebody was named Orgasm Donor. That's cool. It would probably get... No, maybe they wouldn't ban it. Lichess is pretty liberal. So... Durpin card versus Ubadis. This is recently played. Very recent. So Ubadis is our Thursday assistant. E4, E5. Always play for a draw. If you like playing for a draw, play E4, E5. I'm glad I didn't start out playing E4, E5. The elephant! Who said that E4, E5 had to be drawish? If you don't want to draw, play the elephant. There's like 80% chance of losing. A very small percent chance of drawing. Let's take a look at statistics. D5. Check it out, man. Check it out, Wendy. That's the highest winning percentage of any first move. Coincidence? I don't think so. Sample size? Yeah. Like Bob. The size is small. 219. 34% wins for black. That's the highest on the list. 42% wins for white. So, you know, this is very interesting. Like, everyone knows the Latvian, right? But if you compare the elephant to the Latvian, the elephant's just better. Look at that. The winning percentage is almost double the Latvian, and the losing percentage is significantly less. But I wonder, I have a question. What happens if, like, pawn takes pawn, c6? What happens if we play like the Danish in reverse? There's no games of that. I mean, that's probably very popular, like, in the bullet world, and at the same time, like, on lichess, in the noob districts. This is seen very frequently. I mean, you know, you might as well just, like, Harry Lyman style, just sacrifice everything. Hopefully they just keep taking while you, like, develop your pieces or something. You just basically play the Danish in reverse. Or whatever it is. Is that the Danish? Just saying. How bad can it be? But Ubadis, we went over this. Alright. You know the main line is actually e4, queen e2. We talked about this last week. But a lot of people just don't know that. There's also queen takes d5, which has rarely been played. But if you notice here, there is a Gashimov game. And Zoran Runic. who's like a Croatian, or I think he's Croatian GM. This is weird. You play queen e6, bishop b5 check, and then bishop b3 coming in on the diagonal. Right, bishop d6 can transpose to stuff in that line. Exactly. But okay, anyway, your opponent played knight takes c5, which is the other main line. And now we've seen, like, this is bad because of what? Bishop c4. This is the thing we looked at, right, with knight h6. That's maybe not so clear. What's the deal with this? d4. Didn't you have this last time? This is what we looked at with bishop c4, right? Yeah. But I get mostly that when I've played it. Which is like a solid positional move. Demchenko, very strong player. Potapov, Justin Tan, Hasnadoroglu, a number of grandmasters with white. I mean, I think this is like the positional solution. But you're not up a pawn. Anyways, so instead this time we see d4 right away, d takes e4, and then, okay, so we're back to this line. So the last guy played that bishop c4, but that's a rarity. You played bishop takes e5, and white missed queen h5. Just to sum up, that was what we saw last week. White missed queen h5, and then he got a bad endgame after just pawn captures, queen takes d1. Black was better. Chessable is out of touch. Chessable is like over, I don't know, man. It's like, what is it that bothers me about it? It's like, it's just not cool. I don't know. Lunchable. It reminds me of Lunchables. I'm not really buying anything that was started by John Bartholomew and Magnus Carlsen. Sorry, man. I'm just not that trendy. So, I'd rather think for myself. Bishop takes c5 here. Yeah, knight c3 looks like a reasonable move. Are you going to take? You're not taking now. Well, it's probably something, Bob, where if you wait long enough, you know, they'll have to go to a subscription model eventually. Once they start, like, losing market share or something. I mean, this is an important question. Dude, Skachkov, the expert, played this, and he managed to beat a grandmaster. Black is 4-0. Say what? How is Black 4-0 here? D takes c5, queen takes d1 check. Welcome to the bishop pair. This is like a reverse of what you had. I can't believe this is really worse for white. It's better for white. White lost every game. Like, seriously. Okay, like, white was outrated pretty badly in game 3, but I mean the others are all pretty close. That is crazy. There's no way white should be worse here. But, you know, kudos to Yabatis for thinking for himself. Because on Chessable, they would have told him to take here, you know. It's definitely playable, but I'm not sure, you know. So he protects his pawn. Oh, we saw this game before, the Harriet Hunt. I thought I remember analyzing this before. The only thing is, like, maybe white has other options, like defending the d1 square again. That way he takes, or she, if it's Harriet Hunt. Bishop takes, pawn takes, queen takes, check, bishop takes. And then this is just like falling. So it looks like black has serious problems there. So you really don't want to take. You'll have to play something else. The disadvantage of bishop b2 is that it's not very aggressive, so you could just play some move to try to pressure e5, I guess. This looks familiar. You had another game that was like this. Well, he has the rook capture now. So I'm trying to remember. Jonathan Parker. Don't place that player. Getting back in my era there. I don't remember Jonathan Parker. 2400. British. Alright. Now white played bishop e5 check, which is strange. Didn't Harriet play a good game here? Let's see. Bishop c4. Castles. There's also a more recent game. We looked at this. Ivan Sredeyevich, who's trying to get the lowest rating possible. He's lost like a few rating points. Knight d5. Wow. Now that's cool. What do you call that? Can we get like some Rorschach tests going on here? What is that? What do you see when you look at this picture? Bob sees a penis. I don't know, it looks like a diving board. A chair? A lounge chair? It is a strange shape, though, nevertheless. This is a fantastic position. You gotta see, these guys like tension. I love this quadrant here. Clearly it's a whale. Thin whale. Alright, that position is making my head hurt. But I don't know, bishop f5 makes sense. It's not your only move, though. Is it? Maybe it is. White starting knight takes e4. Someone played h6. Wait a minute. h6 he didn't take, or they didn't take? Bishop h4. Castles? Wow. Frollo. Frolicking. You knew that was coming. Look at that. Oh, you had that. Queen h4 check, and then lateral take something. Damn. There goes the center. Tricky, tricky. Okay, bishop g5. See, this is a strange move. What do you guys think about f4? Pretty resolute. I think it needs to go. It's going. Now knight takes. I'm surprised the Uber driver didn't stay around. He would appreciate this. You're not down any material, and you have kind of an active position. I mean, I'm down with the elephant. If I can be like knocked down material and have an active position. I thought we were like sacrificing a pawn or something. We didn't have to sacrifice anything and we have a good game. You don't even have to allow him to like double your pawns. White lost all advantage. No. I mean, g5, wow. Crazy. You can castle queenside. Wow. Mamajarov approved. Uber would be offended by this game. Man, there's nothing White can do. This is depressing. Oh man, I think I would play bishop e1. That's what he did. So is this a problem though? We have a problem here. Bishop e1 is a good move. It's like the only move. Because g4 can be met. I was thinking this, but then check here. Well, this is clearly on f5. And obviously, like, if you try to win a pawn in this way, that looks kind of not good. The dark squares are somewhat weak. So, we're not going to do g4. Yeah, I think that's a good decision. Just castle and rook e8. White played it anyway. Wow. Alright, this is a problem too, I guess. But not as bad. I mean, we have the D file. I was anticipating bishop takes, pawn takes, knight takes, and then I guess queen c1. Do we really just like lose a piece here? Not exactly. You think rook takes f5? Like right away? But I mean that sacrifices h2 with check. I don't think that's as clear. Of course it's possible. You don't want to sacrifice your queen. I mean, I assume you're talking about that. Yeah, that's bishop g3. This is not clear. It looks like compensation. Yeah, this is actually pretty close. I know you don't take on e5, but I'm surprised that you didn't take on e5. But it's a very notable moment. Maybe it's a brilliant move, you know, not taking on e5. Your opponent like expected you to take on e5 and you didn't, and that's the point. Now he can't maintain e5, so that was a brilliant move, I would say. I guess brilliant is like an exaggeration, but still. It solves all your problems and you're basically like winning a pawn. Enough said. Now the real question is, you're going to grab on h2 check, I hope. Because sometimes he's not materialistic enough. I think you got to take this. I mean, that is... I take it back. Damn, f6 is hanging? You can take with the knight. Alright, I'm not sure, but let's see. Here, here. Now, show me the money. You've got d5. Not clear. You know, white has enough. I think white is lost. Well, at least just clear pawn down with no compensation. I think you should take on check. But the weird part is, like, after this, you just took with a knight back. He's, like, dropped h2 with check. That seems kind of strange, honestly. I think I'll just drop my h2 pawn with check. Who cares? It's just an h2 pawn. I mean, h3 is clearly an option, but you have a pawn storm coming. But g3... I mean, g3 you could still try it. Like sacking a pawn. Okay, it's scary. No matter what happens. But I wouldn't just like give you a pawn for nothing. Okay, he's relying on this trap. This is a pretty good game. That's a huge move. Taking the steam out of g3. Oh man. Nothing fancy. White's just simply down a pawn with no king safety. What did you do? Like trap his rook? Rook trap? That looks bad. How is he going to save his rook? It's going to go to f5, but it's going to get trapped anyway. There's also these... Well, no. There's no sneaky leg here, because the queen is protecting. Cautious. So you ended up not trapping his rook. Nah, it's over. That's worse. Ugh, and bishop d4. Yeah, it looks nice, looks nice. The elephant gambit strikes again. You know, the notable thing about that was the fact that you didn't castle and got to play g5. You know, the question is, like, maybe the Harriet Hunt variation is overrated. It's funny, the other game where black played h6, white also lost. Pretty badly, I might note. I think I would still stick with the solid knight c4 recommendation. Okay, we've got a couple games left. Thanks. Thanks everybody for supporting the stream. Antonio, VIP, Mr. Coffee, our star moderator with a 1,000-bit donation. We'll be back tomorrow with some rapid chess on Friday morning. Open challenges against noobs and friends. I've got move 11 twice. There's no going back. Wait, there was like a game from Ripun, right? Where did that go? Oh, it's not in here. That's the player who's missing. Ripun. Alright, we'll do Bob, Ripun, and move 11. That's it. 3 games to go. That's why I had 10 games after all. Ripun, it's late for him. Bob is black. Ooh, we're not going to look at the graph. The graph takes the fun out of it. Computer analysis, move times. Let's just do move times. Proud of this one. Proud of this loss. Well, I was looking at your game with Asterbait, Bob, which we're not going to analyze today, and you have this kind of troll and a roll style where you don't calculate. You have a lot of talents, but you know you're still you're gonna have to improve. I think in like there's no way to get around just flat out calculating more. Intuition will only get you so far. I think you have good visual, sort of geometric feel, but it only goes so far. It was Asterbait. No. I felt like, in general, playing against you, not just because of that game. So Bob is black, and this is an annoying system, you know, this Verisov. But interesting choice. Bob plays c6. Okay, I don't normally play d4, d5. I normally play d4, knight f6, so it's different. Bob is offering the transition to the Caro-Kann here. So you've got to be able to play the Caro-Kann, Bob, hopefully. Instead, his opponent played bishop f4, the normal Jabava Rapport setup. And I saw a similar game today. You played bishop f5. There are some risks involved with bishop f5. Namely that white will assault your bishop with the pawn advance, Jabava style. So I would lean toward knight f6. But that's still not a solution for complete development. There is an interesting option. You could try to do a fianchetto type of setup. So like knight f6. Let's see what white does. If they try to go extreme, Jabava, queenside castle, all that, I kind of like this b5, man. You know, this idea of playing b5 early. I saw Basim Amin, I think, do this. You can try to kind of like start the attack on the queen side before white even castles over there. It's an interesting idea. It can also be incorporated with g6. g6, f3, b5. I guess this is the Basim Amin game. Here, Wallace. Oh, it wasn't Basim Amin. It was another player from UAE. Yeah, Salam Salah. My mistake. So I like this idea of not committing your king and then, like, you know, trying to preempt them. The first time I saw this, I thought the guy was crazy. But then when I saw the game, and I've seen other games kind of similar, it looks pretty dangerous for white. Okay, anyway, like kind of conventional play here by Bob, bishop f5, and then white, you know, really, it's more dynamic probably to try f3. But he just goes e3. I mean, if you play e3, you know, e4 is going to cost you a tempo. Bagi Mate, move 11. Look at that. Oh, shit. Multiple Bagi Mate games. You can use this for preparation for your next training game. So he's actually got a track record of playing this. f3 seems far more dynamic than e3. And now most people play f3, but I mean, again, e3 seems like a waste of time to some degree. Now you've got to consider like extreme chess. Bob, are you willing to play extreme chess? Willing to lay it on the line? If you are, you might consider h5. You're gonna just lay it on the line and pretend you're playing the Najdorf. I'm so tired of people like ripping my throat out that I'm gonna play h5 in this position. It's got serious backers, it looks like. Obviously you can't just play routine chess and castle into it, you know. Once you play h5 you gotta be a little bit cautious, but I kinda like that. It's like playing a5. It's the gioco piano on the other side of the board. Like in the gioco piano, you usually do a6. Here we're doing h5, a5, h5. Yeah, h6 is passive. So you did e6, which I like better than h6, I guess. But clearly here's the attack. Okay, here it comes. We expected it, here it comes. And now Bob played h6, so that's the question. h6 or h5, like a Caro-Kann. I think I looked at this, and we were happy. I believe it was h5. I looked at this with Coach say Coach and I, we saw Bologan. Looks like it was that game with h5, g5, knight g8, I think. Yeah. It's a lot like a Caro-Kann. But when I looked at this with the engine, it looks like not so good for white. Dropping, it's down to half a pawn. Okay, white's a little better. Very little better for white. 0.2. Oh, jumping back up again. But it's not that bad. I mean, this is point two again. It's pretty solid for black, honestly. So that's what I would recommend. The resolute h5. Don't be afraid to play h5. Bob played the more traditional move. And now white played a3. So whoever you're playing here, Bob, you know, they're playing like really well prepared player. This is a new move, but it's consistent and logical. He's preempting your, you know, any kind of bishop b4. It's a normal move. And now you played bishop d6, which is a major decision. On paper, I don't like exchanging your bishop for his bishop on f4. But, on the other hand, you know, his bishop is very active. So that's the typical, you know, that's what makes chess hard. Like deciding which principle is more important. You know, active bishop, should I trade it off? Or my bishop is my good bishop, and it's supposed to protect my dark squares. I think you should probably go with something like knight d7. Another interesting idea is a6 here, with the idea of playing like a Caro-Kann. You can't play c5 because he'll hit you with knight b5. But you can play a6 and c5. You could also play knight d7. The Oracle is not a fan of bishop d6. I kind of don't like queen b6. It's artificial for a human. I wonder about a6 knight a4. Is that a problem? Apparently a6 is okay. We want to watch this and then try to prepare the c5 break. But this is like a standard move. I think we say his bishop is air, you know, it's controlling the air. And, but I mean, you know, who am I to speak? I have a kind of bad track record in this type of variation. So I think here, yeah, I mean, you're trading your good bishop. It's alright. Probably white should think carefully about how to play this now. Knight h3, maybe? I like knight h3 because it doesn't block his bishop. But maybe he can play knight e2 and like bishop h3 and then pressure you here. He could also do some other weird move like queen d2 maybe. You like the bishop f4 blocks the f pawn. Right. That's true. That happens in Fantasy Caro-Kann. Sicilian as well. It is kind of like getting in the way of like a pawn storm. So yeah, we don't really like bishop d6 here on the stream. But it's certainly playable. Now you realize like if you take, you kind of help him out. So what are you going to do? Queen c7 is a good move. Preparing e5. You're threatening e5 now. Maybe a mistake by white. He didn't get the memo about e5. I mean, I'm not sure how devastating it is, but I think you should play it while you can. What if he takes and then plays like knight f4? I guess it's probably like okay for you, but I'm a little bit worried about this, to be honest. I'm afraid like we might be a tad on the slow side. I think, you know, you ought to consider doing e5 here. I realize it's a little slow. Maybe it's not that good. Alright, maybe you should just play knight on bd7. There's no reason you have to play e5. This is a good move. Well, I mean, the one reason is like he could play f4, I guess, or knight f4. And now g5 looks like annoying. I think he also played queen d2, so if you try to do like a discovery, it won't hit your queen. But basically, he's trying to castle kingside, queenside. But there's also king f2. You know, a lot of times they put their king on f2. He's not necessarily going to castle queenside. Yeah, so my big concern is this. Where are we going after that? Like, do you want to open the H file for him? I don't think so. So that means you have to play what? Like, you have to play knight g8. The good news is, hey, maybe it's not that bad. I mean, unless you have some crazy ass, like, counterattack, like e5. We really ought to consider all our options. It's possible. Like, the point would be this, you know, you're on f3. But he can take, you take, he takes. You play, like, rook g8. I don't know. I mean, this requires a lot of calculation. e4. Looks like it's better for white, like the center. But this is the kind of stuff you need to consider. You could also let him take. I mean, I wonder how bad it is. Seriously, Mr. Coffee, come to think of it, why don't we let him take? Like, screw it, man. Just play e5, let him take, to hell with it. And let him do whatever, you know, like, what is he going to do? That? We're on that. We could castle. This happens in Mr. Coffee's Tory attacks sometimes. I don't want to play knight f8, really, unless I have to. So let's see what the computer says. Yeah, e5. Computer doesn't want to fart around with bishop h7. I agree. Let him take. g5 looks scary. But this isn't as scary. Now you played e5. Good. Better late than never. Oh, whoa. Easy now. Easy now. Settle down. You got excited. Major achievement to get in e5. And I think you're gold. Gold here. But I'm not sure we want to go to the next level and necessarily like push to e4. Because you're likely like going to be overextended. A lot of similarities with the Joko here. I guess take. I don't know which way. I guess the safest is take with the queen. And you castle queenside. And he castles queenside. Shake hands and go home. Good game, Bob. See you tomorrow. Okay. Draw? Yeah. Nice knowing you. Okay. See you next week. So that's probably what happens there. Yeah, e4 went too far. Bob went too far. He got excited. It's like, yeah, we're doing alright. No, I'm not 100% sure. Bob does have this. I just realized maybe it's not so simple. I might have to take it back. It does weaken g4, you're right. Man, I thought it was a mistake, but maybe it's not. I just picked it up, and Turkey Farm's mentioning it now. e4 weakened g4. Well, if you're talking about this, yeah, I mean, the point would be like bing, 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 bing. I just realized. I didn't see it. I thought white was doing well. But this is a serious problem. So it's not overextending. e4 is actually a good move. So it's white's bad. Well, first of all, I mean, obviously he should have played g5. You know, there's no question. Yeah, apparently like this doesn't work for some reason. It doesn't like my line. The Oracle doesn't like my line. Well, it thinks it's like +3. Okay, I didn't think it was that bad, but it's bad. Yeah, this dude majorly messed up by not playing g5. Okay, but I mean, what about takes? Takes. Bishop e2 or something? Well, it's a game anyway. So this is a clear blunder. Bob was correct to play e4. It's not a mistake. Takes. This is a mistake. So you had to take back, and then g4 is hanging. He I don't know. He has to go here, and then you just like take the pawn, and you're better, big time. So you took the wrong way with the knight, and now white's okay. You actually end up with a bad bishop if you take with the pawn. So I think at this point this is like forced. But now you do end up with the pawn like somewhat overextended. g3's covered, g4's not attacked. Yeah. So you're just slightly overextended. If that pawn were back on e6, you'd be fine here. And unfortunately f7 is just hanging. So this was poorly calculated. You just can't play knight f6. You have this, you know, aiming to get in there. And you also hit g4, so it looks like that might be okay. But I mean, the normal move, I guess, is f6. I don't love it, but, you know, we do it. We'll have to do it. You might be able to break with h5 later, I don't know. Our three pawns are kind of frozen here. I'm not crazy about that. So structurally, it's not the best. This loses a pawn, I guess. I mean, you could play what? Here? No. Gotta try to stay active. Knight d5 makes sense, but it's also going to get hit by c4. Don't know if you have time for anything crazy like knight h2, knight f3. This is apparently a mistake. What he should have played c4, maybe. Yeah, he's being materialistic. So what now? You have queen g6, pick up the pawn. And now you're equal material. The white is on the 7th. You're on this. Boom. Problem. Did you miss something? It looks dangerous to take the pawn because you're like in a pin. So you went back. It's just about pawn structure, primarily. You're just worse structurally. And I don't know how much king factors in here. Neither king is in direct danger, although this does threaten mate in 1. You'll have to be a little careful there. If queen b4, yeah, he can't. He drove you away from the attack on e3 and then attacked you with queen b4. So rook d7. You have a check? You have some crazy tactics here, like queen f1 check. a5 was best. That's not an easy move to find. I was wondering about this. Man, I thought you had some crazy ass like rook takes d4 check or something, but it doesn't seem to work. This is a huge problem. If rook here, he has check. Now you have to go there and then there's some weird check on a5. This doesn't look good. No, white's like suddenly winning. Queen a5. Is there some kind of insane? That's sick, man. White's just winning. I would be very tempted to do that. There's nothing here. Because I was looking at like this. That's another nice line where you're winning. White's getting mated there as well. But he has pawn takes and then like e3 check. I think, you know, probably you run out of steam eventually here. He can probably like walk away up to b3 or something. I think you're going to lose. That's a cute line, but it just doesn't quite work. Man, that sucks. So, this just doesn't work at all. Yeah, the critical question is queen f1. The computer says a5, but what happens here? Check. Yeah, king d2, rook h2. It just happens that it's mate. Damn. It's that queen a5. If it wasn't for that move, you would be like, fine. So you have to play a5 and pray, it looks like. Or queen f3. What's that do? Queen f3. Maybe this really holds on. Wow. Blunder a5 was best, except it's not. Queen f3 is better? That's crazy. Oh, it works here. King d2, rook takes d4 check. Oh my god. Bob would have seen this in his sleep. He would have totally seen this in his sleep. Rook takes d4 check. That's so cute, man. I knew that was going to come into it somehow. That saves the game. It's only draw. White's lucky that he's not getting mated. Wow. This is super complicated. Black's like down a rook and has perpetual check. Crazy. Holy shit. If here, queen f1, king c2, queen d3 again. It's like the really weird perpetual check. But Bob instead played... What did you do? Just losing. And there's no checks. Always remember, Bob. Always check. It might be mate. Rook takes f7. Rook takes f7, but unfortunately we can't defend here. We just don't have any threats. Ouch. Alright. Crazy variations. Thank you. Interesting game from Bob. So we're going to go back. Am I not in my study here? That's weird. I thought I put that in the study. How did I end up in the game? Move 11? Clicked on the wrong button. Well, that's a tough opening. It's really annoying. Why can't I click and go back button? Alright guys, last game's Repunch. Repunch and move 11. It's an over-the-board game by Repunch. Over-the-board 10 plus 5. This is... Don't know if he means like rated or something. So he lost. Joko piano. Quiet Joko. Oh, okay, so I normally play... I've been playing like bishop c5, and then Repunch plays the c3 main line. But against here, against this opponent, his opponent played knight f6. Yeah, you played d3, okay. Right. Something wrong with this. How he recorded moves in a 10+5 over the board game. Impressive. I have no idea. It could have been electronic board. Maybe he just has a good memory. But G6 is a blunder, isn't it? Damn, dude. Black played G6 here. Houston, we have a problem, right? Like, dude, you can play H6. And then, like, D6 and G6. But I don't think you can play G6 here. This has to be bad news, right? Knight G5. D5. How does this compare to normal fried liver? Is it better or worse? Uber driver, can we get your 1972 opinion? It's bad, right? G6 just doesn't fly. He didn't take advantage of it, and he lets black transpose to like a kind of solid formation. Yeah, it has to be crushing. See, because he doesn't normally do knight G5, I think he just like doesn't want to do knight G5. But you got the additional move D3, which is pretty constructive. I mean, now the knight is protected. Black simply played G6. I mean, you've got mobile bishop, and you've got the knight protected on G5. It has to be very strong. I mean, it's like in the fried liver, that knight is hanging, you know. So if black plays D5, pawn takes, it's like hanging to the queen. Now it's not hanging. So you don't even need to like sack on F7. I mean, you could play anything like queen F3, right? This is extremely bad for black. You could play knight C3, can't you? So you have like a wide variety of choices, as opposed to a normal just castle. Right. I wouldn't want to play too slowly, though. Alright. Always castle, Uber driver. This lets black kind of off the hook, though. Yeah. Now we got nothing. Just a closed, slow position. I don't know. I would consider bishop e3. Not to get hit by tempo. h3 is okay, I guess. But now he's threatening knight a5. I don't think... Maybe it's not a big deal because of bishop e5, bishop a4. But it looks like white's setup is very slow. Now black played knight a5, but I don't know. Yeah, I mean, maybe black should just play, like, a6. What should black do here? Just d5 now? It's a little late, isn't it? I'm not sure about this. I guess knight a5 is okay. You can play it like a Roy Lopez. That's what he did, yeah. Okay. So basically transpose to a quiet Lopez. But black, I think normally... With the knight on a5, you have to play c5. It's a Chigorin. It just doesn't make sense to play knight a5 and then not push that pawn before you have to bring the knight back. He really has to play c5 here. I wonder if you should consider playing b4. I consider it for sure. But should you play b4? b4, knight 6, a4. For example, Asterbate would be down with that. But certainly not forced. There's also knight g5, though I don't think it really does anything. So Repun instead played d4. Fundamental move, pressurizing this strong point. I guess it's not bad. And now black goes knight h5. Some pressure here. Right, like the Benoni style plan. That's definitely possible. Uber driver. But I think black's play is interesting. Knight h5 is interesting. I don't think there's anything wrong with it necessarily. Looks reasonable. I suppose that we take here at some point. And we calm it down a little bit. I don't want to get like a kingside attacked like a king's Indian. He played b3 to control that knight. But maybe the Uber driver's move is going to come in at some point. This is an important question if we should do this. Calm down the game. Maybe trade queens and then play like b3. I don't know. I mean, knight f4 looks mildly annoying. I'm not sure I'm in love with this exchange or not. How about like bishop g5? Doesn't seem great. Yeah, I don't really know what to do. Sometimes they go, what, d5? You have a bad knight on a5? Yeah, but on the other side, we're in trouble. Well, this is not bad yet, because it's still got that. But I'm seriously concerned about the king side. Noobville. Now he's seriously going to sack on h3. Maybe. I would be a little wary of that. If you play here, he has bishop d7. I'm not really sure what's going on. It looks very coffee house. But white just kind of ignored it and played that. Wow. Alright. So what do we do? Should we take first? Maybe we should take first, you know? This is the one thing I was worried about, f4. I was also looking at this and worried about that. That's another line that looks problematic. I don't love this. Getting shut down. But it's possible, even this, like takes, knight g5, and playing for control of like the d5 square. But you can definitely take on f5, I think. This is a little shaky, though. Maybe that's a problem. Let's see what happened here. We're going to have to go to d2. You just took right away. Oh man, f3 looks problematic. I don't like the look of f3. We're like boxed in a little like area here. Yeah, I mean, it's not that big a deal. He's not losing a knight. But on the king side, we're dead. I think we're just dead after f3. It's like a lost king's Indian. I I mean, knight f4 is coming and it's like over. Maybe you can't play knight f4, then we can survive, but this is a serious problem. You can't let that happen. That's one reason I was suggesting this, possibly. And then going here, and then this bishop is, and this is hanging. This is much different and more fluid. I mean, maybe black would have taken with the bishop, but that's also not necessarily a big deal. So I think you have to take. I mean, Wade also didn't have to put the bishop on e3. There's a lot of ways we can play this, but I think we're in big trouble now. He misses f3. Yeah, I mean, now you can do all kinds of things. Maybe king h2, queen f3, obviously queen g4. There's a million things we can do to try to hold it up. f3. But, you know, you gotta like evacuate with the white king very quickly here. Do not underestimate black's kingside attacking chances. This is over, man. f3 is game over. It looks like game over. What are you gonna do? He misses it for a couple moves. This is like really slow. Ripun just ignores it. He gets a good knight there as well. Wow. And then bang. It was just a matter of time. I mean, this is over. I mean, at least here you could play maybe knight d2. It's over. Game over, man. g4. It's over. It's all over. That's a nice try. Rook e3. Yeah, the structure is destroyed. Kingside's destroyed. It's over. Alright, yeah, I mean, just allowing f3 in this kind of King's Indian scenario is really bad. Our last game, move 11, study. Legit, what? It's legit game over more often. I mean, the problem is like when you're an e4 player and you end up playing the white side of a King's Indian. That's not a situation that you want to be in. You didn't want to play a King's Indian. He let it get too locked up on the king side. That's a very standard. You know, any d4 player would have seen that coming, but because he plays e4, he wasn't really ready for it. Hey, Skewerly, what's up? Guys, check out Skewerly. This is a training game between Move 11 and what's his name? Bagi Mate. Alright, Move 11 versus I am Baggio. So e4, e5, it's a Spanish with g6. So-called Smyslov variation. Now, interestingly, most players at the higher level, you know, have come to play a6, bishop a4, and then g6. That's become the trendy way of playing it. So I don't know why, you know, he's particularly going g6 right away, which is like theoretically not quite as good as a6, g6. I don't think I ever had a game in. I had a game in the a6 line, but you can play like d4. E takes d4, bishop g5. That's the main line. Although white's score is not so great here. I was thinking about can we do c3? I like this. Yeah, c3 and then a6, bishop a4 would transpose the game I had. But mostly like d3. I'll have whatever Grishuk's having. Taking the pawn is like super dangerous. There's a game here, Jones versus Sandipan. I don't know though. It looks like black has some other games. I guess it's not that clear. It just feels like this is the most aggressive way white can play. I thought Kasparov recommended this, but I could be wrong. I don't know if he talks about it in Revolution in the 70s or in My Great Predecessor somewhere. I have this weird feeling that Kasparov referenced this position somewhere, but I don't know why. Basically now move 11 is too late to try to play d4. There it is, rearing its ugly head again. There's a reason why I guess no one plays d6. They don't want to let you play d4, so they would go here. So suddenly there's this like void. No games. Because white can play d4. So it was weird. You think Caruana recommends c3 on chess base. c3 without d4. Oh. Well, that's a different approach. You can just play like c3. But you could also transpose using that too. Yeah. I don't know. What do you do? Like d3? And just play like quietly or something? You might end up like Ripunj in the last game if you're not careful. Alright, he let you play d4 and now it's possible we're going to just transpose to a Steinitz. Yeah. So by a weird move order we transpose to the Steinitz. But like, why are there no games where this has ever happened? I don't think there's any refutation, right? The only other thing you could have done would have been like take on c6. But I don't think that has any real independent significance necessarily. Knight takes d4, bishop d7. Oh, okay. Now move 11 did knight c6. He did something similar against me in a game, but it was a different variation. This is different. Like bishop takes seems kind of lame. This is a tempo. But I mean, I'm surprised by knight takes c6. What about bishop takes c6? Can we play like, what will we do here? b3? This is too dangerous to do that? I don't know. It looks like rook e1. But I mean, it's not that dangerous for black. I mean, you're castle kingside. You can't checkmate him with like bishop h6. Bishop f4 is a move. But what about the pawn? How do I protect my pawn if it comes under attack on the b file? If I do like bishop f4? This is not an issue. How do we guard that pawn? Damn. Uber Driver, been reading your tea leaves or something? The engine just doesn't protect it. Wow. Here we go again. The rook is getting trapped? Oh no. Uber Driver specialist. Poison pawn specialist. Like, how do you trap it though? Oh, with a knight? This is weird, man. Okay, I don't know. That's all very complicated. So move 11 did this knight takes, which I feel like is strategically weird. Like, you're giving up control of the d5 square. Speaking of the d5 square, the number one move seems to be bishop c4. That would also afford us to play bishop e3 to mitigate any kind of danger on the b file. I mean, this has a lot of points. It stops d5. It stops the b-file crap. It just attacks f7, you know? You think we're still in Caruana land? I thought you said Caruana recommended playing c3. I think we're in wherever land. I don't think we're in Caruana land anymore. You're in Caruana land. Yeah, he's got a big choice there. But I think, you know, we could see that the e5 is a major threat. You got this. Mama said e5. It's probably just too late, though. You know, we're just a little bit too late. It's probably not that dangerous. I mean, you could play, like, structurally. Just totally structural chess. Queen f3. What is black going to do? Here. There's a neat trick. e4. You gotta love that. Black has the Cowboys, as Uber Driver would say. That's a neat line. So now it's like compensation. Man, that's even worse. Get out the shredder. You gotta be careful here. Right? But apparently it's like not quite the best. Bishop g5 was better. Move 11 has a fixation, because he won a nice game against me. We had a similar Steinitz, I think, where like he was putting pressure on my pawn there. Fixations. This straight up bishop g5. h6, so what's the big deal? Computer was like, it's huge advantage to white. But I don't see it. I don't really want to go here. I mean, maybe. That is pretty weakening for black. This is extreme. Extreme e5 control. I like it though. I kind of like it for black. I would probably not go to h4. Yeah, it's not clear. Okay, so the fixation variation. What I love about move 11 is like he's very creative and willing to play, you know, kind of unusual stuff. This is extreme chess again. So does black have queen c8? If queen c8, queen a5, the point. Feugl says queen g5. I mean queen a5. The Feugl maneuver. But that's like, yeah, it just sits there. It's just a supervisor. It's like a Karen. Queen on a5. It's like the Karen in your neighborhood. You just can't get rid of it. I had one of those. No, this is a really useful square for a queen. It's like queen h5 in the Sicilian. Petrosian style. So I think he did the right thing. Wow. You gotta admit he wasn't looking for that. You were so focused on like that maneuver to attack c6. He never saw e5 coming. I'm surprised white is actually behind in time here. I never anticipated e5. Are you going to play rook d1? I really literally can't guess any of move 11's moves. Now I anticipated rook d1. Of course he didn't play that. That could play queen c8 there. So he just attacked the broken pawns. Pawn structure of chess. What about that? Astrobate, what are you doing? Can the hero with black here find a counterplay? Does knight d5 just do it? I mean, first, if I'm black here, the first thing I want to do is like equalize. I want to make sure that I'm not worse. So it looks like knight d5 might cast some doubt on move 11's strategy. I think after that, black's okay, right? Take, rook e8. And objectively, it's probably a draw. You like knight takes d5 and c4? Yeah, but I mean, black is up a pawn here. I don't think that black can really be worse. So he played this instead. That's a pretty freaking weird move, honestly. Why are you boxing your own rook in on f8? That doesn't seem right, master. That can't be right. So he wants to play queen c6. Ah. Alright, I get it. I get it. It's queen c6. So, alright. You decided there. You have a better structure, but black's fairly active. But I do think that black is like playing for a draw. Dubov style. I don't know where the rook should go. It's a really tough call. 3 possible squares. Now we went back to d8. So you're better. Oh no. Taking over the open file. I bet the computer is not going to like bishop takes f6. It loves its bishops. I mean, you got to admit, like, your bishop's stronger than his bishop still. I would maybe do this too, but in the back of my mind, I feel like this is a concession, but I don't know what to suggest. Yeah, I expected b3, turkey farm, something like that. I mean, I don't think there's a problem with b3. I don't see why anything would be wrong with that. But maybe move 11 has a point. Like, he stopped knight d5. Maybe that was an annoying move. I feel like white's still fine. The question is, should we trade our bishop for the knight or not? How big is white's advantage here, if he has an advantage at all? I'm a little worried that we're not centralizing the king. It's a lot of Piece moves. The king's still on g1. But I guess if you're winning a pawn, you're winning a pawn. The a2 is a problem. And now, that can be blockaded. Black as a passer, I'm not worried about that, really. The king is a good blockader here. We're better, but I felt like black shouldn't lose this. No, I think only white can win. It's a very broken structure. Wow. So, oops. Knight a7 was a major blunder. Well, I wouldn't know you were +4 here. Obviously he's gonna take. And it's a better rook ending for white. I don't know about +4. That seems a bit high. Likely a draw. You can lose it if you try. Wait. You can't take the pawn, okay. Is that the right move? Should we go rook b7? What about king g4? It's unbelievable that you lost this position. You were winning, that you were better, but then, like, there's no way you can lose here. So knight e7 is a mistake, but we can't lose, right? That's, like, physically impossible. Wait, why not rook takes c6? Is that the same thing as in the game, pretty much? Uh-huh. Well, I mean, this is crazy now. I can't believe it. You can play king c3. That's a problem too? Are you shitting me? Jesus Christ. What are you going to do after b takes c4? We're going to drop the whole 7th rank. I can't believe we're, like, losing here, my god. Turkey Farm was like, what about that passed pawn? I can't believe this is losing. There's no freaking way. Maybe king c3. I don't know if it works. King c3. I'm going to pretend nobody just said that. Yeah, that's not interesting. Wait, that's the how are you and I am tourney? Is that what you're talking about? How are you and I am? You don't mean that tournament, do you? It's like a competition between the IMs with the lowest top rating ever. Is that what it is? Like to qualify or what? You can't ever have a rating like higher than 2415 or something? Alright. No, I think Eric Rosen actually cracked like 2430. No, but seriously, we don't talk about that here. Self-promoting bastards. Alright, King G7, King D2, C5, King C3. And now, we can mitigate this pawn. Our king is active, and if C4 the moment of truth? This is the big question. We've got king takes B3. The really tricky part would be like B4, right? Check. Now what do we do? This is super insane. I don't know what's happening here. Oh, you want me to just take? You have that? You could just take, yeah. So move 11, is it this as a secret move? King C3? Can he try to get active desperately, like rook down? Let's see. Let's put the engine on this position. Then we gotta go. Yeah, it's the best move. Wow. God, I'm an endgame genius. I found it without an engine. No, this is huge. This is huge. You have to be fine. King C3 exclam. Triple exclam. Alright guys, I gotta go. It's been fun. Thanks, Move 11. That's why they pay me the big money here. Mr. Coffee, thanks everybody for your support. Move 11 has a way with better positions. Move 11 just gifted a tier 1 sub to the community. Going to Articom. So that's how IMs win. No, I mean, I think it's probably a draw, but there's no way you should be worse. Yeah, but you gotta play heads up. He was low on time. Alright guys, thank you for joining. We'll be back Friday morning. I gotta go. Thanks to everybody. Appreciate very much your support. I will be back on Friday. Bye-bye.